Welcome to the Wasteland's darkest what-if scenario. You are about to hear a confession that will change how you see Mr. House forever. This video explores an alternate timeline, where Robert House woke up from his coma in 2118 instead of 2138, 20 years earlier. 20 years that gave him time to build the future he always promised. Time to save humanity, time to reach the stars, and time to show us the terrible price of salvation. You think you know House? The calculating genius who saved Vegas. The visionary who promised colony ships and orbital stations. But what if he had succeeded? What if he got everything he needed to execute his plan without compromise? This is the story of what Vegas would have become, what humanity would have sacrificed, and what we would have learned about the cost of survival when the man holding the calculator is the only one who decides who gets counted. If you genuinely enjoy this kind of dark storytelling, consider subscribing and liking the channel, but only if it truly resonates with you. I need to tell you something that keeps me awake at night, something about the man who could have changed everything. You know the Lucky 38, that monument to pre-war excess rising above the Mojave like a middle finger to the apocalypse. You know the stories about the man inside, Robert House, the genius who saved Vegas when the bombs fell. But what you do not know, what nobody talks about, is that he woke up too late. 20 years too late. I found documents in an old Robco facility near Searchlight, maintenance logs, system diagnostics from the Lucky 38's network, and buried in lines of corrupted code and radiation-damaged data chips, I discovered the truth. House's stasis systems were supposed to reboot in 2118. His automated protocols, his carefully calculated awakening sequence, all of it pointed to one date, October 23, 2118. Exactly 41 years after the bombs. But something failed, a cascade error in the secondary power routing systems, a single blown capacitor in subsection 12A, one tiny failure that cost humanity 2 decades. Let me paint you a picture of what the Mojave looked like in 2118. The NCR was barely 30 years old then. They had not spread beyond their heartland. No massive armies, no bloated bureaucracy, no generals playing politics while soldiers died for a dam. They were still finding their footing, still learning what it meant to be a nation again. Shady Sands was not the corrupt machine it would become. It was hopeful, fragile, malleable. The tribes that would become Caesar's legion were still scattered across Arizona and New Mexico, isolated and weak. Edward Sallow was not even born yet. The man who would call himself Caesar, who would build an empire on the broken backs of 86 conquered tribes, did not exist. There was no legion, no slavers marching under the bull. No threat from the east that would later force the NCR into the Mojave, and Vegas. God, what Vegas could have been. In our timeline, House emerged in 2274. By then, the board was already set. The NCR had grown into a beast, hungry and desperate. Caesar had spent 27 years building his war machine. The Brotherhood had already fought and lost their war with the Republic. The Mojave was a powder keg, and House arrived just in time to watch it explode. He had to play the hand he was dealt, make treaties with people who did not respect him, sign away 95% of his dam's power just to keep his city from being annexed. But if he had woken in 2118, everything would have been different. Picture it. The Lucky 38's doors open in the fall of 2118. Securitrons roll out onto the strip for the first time, decades before anyone expected them. The local tribes, the ones that would become the 3 families, they are still raiders and scavengers. They have not organized yet. They do not even know what Vegas was before the war. House shows up with an army of robots and a vision so clear, so absolute, that resistance seems pointless. He does not need to negotiate. He does not need to compromise. He simply takes control. The tribals who would become the chairman, the Omertas, the White Glove Society, they get the same offer they received in our timeline. Work for me and prosper, or leave. But now House has time, 20 additional years to civilize them, to educate them, to transform them from savages into something approaching civilization. Benny never gets the chance to plot against him, because Benny grows up knowing only House's rule. The kid is raised in the system, molded by it. He becomes what House needs him to be, not a traitor with delusions of grandeur. By 2138, when House actually woke up in our timeline, this alternate Vegas is already a functioning city-state. The casinos are running. Power from Hoover Dam, which House would have secured decades before the NCR even thought to look east, flows through every building on the strip. The neon burns bright. The Securitrons patrol in formation, and most importantly, House has had 20 years to upgrade his systems, to build his forces, to prepare. When the NCR finally sends scouts into the Mojave in the 2250s, they do not find a wasteland ripe for annexation. They find a technological fortress that makes their salvaged pre-war weapons look like toys. They find a ruler who does not need their protection or their treaties. They find a city that is already thriving without them. House does not sign the Treaty of New Vegas in this timeline. Why would he? He does not need 5% of the dam's power. He already controls the entire dam. He does not need NCR tourists to fill his casinos. He has spent decades building an economy based on manufacturing and technology, not just gambling and vice. The NCR wants Vegas, but Vegas does not need the NCR. And here is where it gets interesting, where the real divergence happens. Without the treaty, without that forced partnership with the Republic, House has no reason to tolerate their presence in the Mojave. The NCR establishes Camp McCarran in our timeline because House allows it. They station troops at Hoover Dam because he signs a paper saying they can. But in this timeline, when NCR Rangers cross into the Mojave, they encounter a wall of Securitrons armed with weapons that have not degraded from centuries of storage. Mark II Securitrons, upgraded decades before they should exist. The NCR learns quickly that Vegas is not for sale. President Kimball, or whoever holds the office in the 2250s, faces a choice. Commit to a long, bloody war against an entrenched enemy with superior technology, or find somewhere else to expand. The NCR is practical, if nothing else. They know when a fight is not worth the cost. They pull back. They redirect their expansion efforts. Maybe they focus on consolidating their hold on California. Maybe they push into Oregon instead. It does not matter. What matters is that they leave Vegas alone. But House is not content with just defending his territory. This is where people always misunderstand him. They think he is some hermit king, content to rule his little casino empire forever. They do not see the larger vision. They never read the data logs. They never saw his projections. House's plan was never just about saving Vegas. It was about saving humanity. In our timeline, he tells the courier that if given control of the Mojave, he could have people in orbit within 50 years, colony ships heading for the stars within a century. Most people hear that and think he is mad, an egomaniac making promises he cannot keep. But I have seen the blueprints. I've read the technical specifications stored in the Robco mainframes. The man owned Repcon Aerospace. He had the rocket technology. He had the manufacturing capability. He had the knowledge and the will. All he ever lacked was time. In this alternate timeline, House gets that time. 20 extra years before the NCR becomes a problem. 46 extra years before Caesar even begins forming his legion. By the time Edward Sallow is captured by the Blackfoot tribe in 2246, House has been building his technological empire for 28 years. Let me tell you what Vegas looks like in 2246 in this timeline. The Strip is not just casinos anymore. House has converted half the buildings into research facilities. The Lucky 38 is not his lonely tower. It is the center of a network of laboratories and workshops. The vault under Fortification Hill, the one that stores his Securitron army, is not just storage. It is a factory, a production line churning out new robots every day. The Securitron design has been refined, improved. They are faster, more durable, more lethal. But more than that, House has started building the infrastructure for his real vision. You see, he never wanted to just rule Vegas. He wanted to use Vegas as a springboard. A blast furnace, he called it, in which to forge the steel of a new rail line running straight to a new horizon. Repcon is operational again, not the crumbling facility we found filled with ghouls and radiation, but a working aerospace company. House has the manufacturing capacity now, the raw materials, the expertise. He has been recruiting every engineer, every scientist, every bright mind he can find in the wasteland. He offers them something no other faction can. Not ideology, not promises of democracy or empire, but the simple chance to work on something that matters, to build something greater than survival. By 2250, House has working spacecraft. I know how that sounds. I know you are sitting there thinking I have lost my mind. Working spacecraft in the Fallout universe? Impossible. But you are thinking about it wrong. House does not need to match pre-war space programs. He does not need the space shuttle or Apollo missions. He just needs rockets that can reach orbit. And Repcon had that technology before the war. The rockets in the Repcon facility near Novak? Those were designed for space travel. They worked in our timeline when a bunch of bright followers fired them up with nothing but faith and duct tape. Now imagine, What House could do with 32 years of preparation and unlimited resources. The first launch happens in 2251, a task vehicle unmanned, carrying a Securitron programmed to report back on orbital conditions. It reaches low Earth orbit and transmits data for 6 hours before atmospheric re-entry. The signal is picked up by dishes in Vegas. House watches from the Lucky 38 as his creation succeeds where the pre-war government failed. He is not trying to reach Mars. Not yet. He knows his limitations, but orbit is enough for now. Orbit means satellites, communication networks, surveillance, control. By 2253, House has 3 satellites in stable orbit. He can monitor the entire Southwest. He watches the NCR's movements. He tracks Caesar's Legion as it begins its early conquests. He sees everything. The Mojave is not just his territory now. It is his laboratory, his testing ground. And this is when the other factions start to notice. The Brotherhood of Steel. Still fighting their losing war against the NCR in California, hears reports of advanced technology in Vegas. Not just Securitrons and casinos, but spacecraft, satellites, things that should not exist in the wasteland. Elder McNamara, or his predecessor, sends a scouting party. They need to investigate. They need to either acquire this technology or destroy it. Those are the only options the Brotherhood ever considers. The scouts never return. House's surveillance network catches them the moment they enter the Mojave. The Securitrons intercept them outside of Hidden Valley. The Brotherhood Knights, in their salvaged T-45 power armor, put up a fight. They always do. But power armor means nothing when you are outnumbered 20-1 by robots that do not feel pain, do not tire, and do not hesitate. House sends a message back to the Brotherhood with the bodies. A simple message, delivered by a Securitron that self-destructs after speaking. The message is this: Las Vegas is not California. The war you fought with the NCR taught you nothing. Do not make me teach you again. Stay in your bunker. Do not send more of your people to die. If you want technology, earn it. Send emissaries, not soldiers. The Brotherhood, already reeling from their losses to the NCR, takes the hint. They seal Hidden Valley and go dark. In our timeline, they launch guerrilla attacks against the NCR for years. In this timeline, they do nothing. They lock themselves away and wait. They have no choice. House has eliminated the Brotherhood as a threat without ever declaring war. Now, you might be thinking, what about the people? What about Freeside and Westside? What about all the desperate wastelanders living in the shadow of House's gleaming towers? In our timeline, House is often criticized for ignoring them, for letting them starve while he hoards his wealth in the Strip. But that criticism assumes he had the power to do anything about it. In our timeline, House was barely holding on. He controlled the Strip and nothing else. He needed every cap, every resource, just to maintain his grip on power. He could not afford charity. In this timeline, House is not desperate. He is wealthy beyond measure. And more importantly, he is pragmatic. He knows that a city cannot run on robots alone. He needs workers, technicians, builders. He needs a population that can sustain his vision. So House does something unexpected. He helps them, not out of kindness. House is not kind, but out of calculated self-interest. He extends his protective wall around Freeside. The Securitrons patrol there now, keeping the peace. He establishes work programs. Anyone willing to work receives food, clean water, and protection. The desperate and the starving suddenly have options. They can work in House's factories. They can maintain his robots. They can serve in his casinos. They can build his rockets. Westside remains independent, but House supplies them with excess power from the dam. He trades with them. He leaves them alone as long as they do not cause problems. It is a mutually beneficial arrangement. By 2255, the Greater Vegas area has a functioning economy. Not the desperate, barely surviving mess we see in 2281, but something approaching stability. People have jobs. Crime is low because the Securitrons do not sleep and do not look the other way. It is not a democracy. It is not freedom. It is order enforced by an enlightened dictator who needs his subjects healthy enough to work, and they prosper under his rule. This is what you need to understand. The Mojave in this alternate timeline is not a war zone. It is not a battlefield where the NCR and Legion grind each other into dust over a dam. It is a rapidly advancing city-state that is beginning to outpace the rest of the wasteland by every conceivable metric. The NCR has more territory. Caesar, when he finally arrives, has more soldiers. But House has something neither of them possess. He has technology. Real technology, not just salvaged pre-war weapons. He has manufacturing. He has vision. And most importantly, he has time. By 2260, When our timeline's House is still sitting dormant in his chamber, waiting for his systems to reboot, the alternate House has been awake for 42 years. He is halfway to his stated goal of putting people in orbit. His rocket program is advancing steadily. The Securitron factories are running at full capacity. Vegas is no longer just a city. It is the center of a new civilization. And then Caesar's Legion comes knocking. In our timeline, Caesar reaches the Colorado River around 2277. He has conquered 86 tribes by then. His legion is massive, disciplined, and terrifying. He represents an existential threat to everyone in the Mojave. The NCR barely holds him off at the First Battle of Hoover Dam. In this timeline, Caesar reaches the Colorado earlier. Around 2270, his scouts report that there is a city to the west. A rich city, a soft city that relies on robots instead of warriors. Caesar sees an opportunity. He plans to cross the Colorado and take Vegas, just as he took every other settlement in his path. What happens next changes everything. Caesar sends emissaries first. He always does. He offers House the same deal he offers everyone. Submit to the Legion, accept Caesar as your leader, or be destroyed. Most tribes surrender, some fight and lose. Caesar expects one of these two outcomes. He does not expect laughter. House receives Caesar's emissaries in the Lucky 38. He listens to their demands with apparent patience, and then he pulls up a holographic display showing every Legion camp within 200 miles of the Colorado. Every patrol, every supply line, every weakness. Information gathered from his satellite network. The emissaries are confused. How does this man, this hermit in his tower, know where their forces are? How does he know their numbers? House explains in his measured, calculating way that he has been watching Caesar's expansion for years. He knows exactly how many soldiers Caesar has. He knows their tactics. He knows their weaknesses. And then he makes a counteroffer. Turn around. Go back to Caesar. Tell him that Las Vegas is not another tribe to be conquered. Tell him that if he sends his legion across the Colorado, they will die, every last one of them. Tell him that Robert House does not negotiate with slavers, and he does not fear armies. The emissaries return to Caesar with this message, and Caesar, being Caesar, decides to test House's resolve. He sends a raiding party, 500 legionaries led by a centurion. They cross the Colorado under cover of darkness. They plan to hit a small settlement on the edge of House's territory, a show of force, a demonstration that Caesar's threats are not empty. The raid lasts 17 minutes. House's surveillance picks them up the moment they cross the river. Securitrons are dispatched, not just a few, hundreds. The legionaries find themselves surrounded in the open desert. They fight with the fanaticism they are known for. They fight with machetes and spears and throwing weapons. They fight as if they can overwhelm the machines through sheer will. The Securitrons gun them down systematically. No mercy, no prisoners. When it is over, 500 legionaries are dead. Not a single Securitron is lost. The machines do not even need repairs. House has the bodies arranged in a line along the Colorado River. A message. A warning. Caesar receives this message loud and clear. For the first time in his conquests, he faces an enemy he cannot intimidate. An enemy he cannot outmaneuver. An enemy with resources and technology that make his legion look primitive. Caesar, for all his intelligence and strategic brilliance, is forced to reconsider his plans. He cannot take Vegas, not now, not with his current forces. He would need to commit his entire legion to the assault, and even then victory is not guaranteed. The cost would be catastrophic. So Caesar does something he has never done before. He backs down, not publicly, not officially, but he redirects his expansion efforts. He focuses on consolidating his control east of the Colorado. He builds up his forces. He waits. In our timeline, Caesar crosses the Colorado and attacks the NCR at Hoover Dam. In this timeline, he never even tries, because House eliminated the possibility before it could happen. This is the power of preparation. This is what 20 extra years means. By 2274, the year House finally wakes up in our timeline. The alternate House has been ruling Vegas for 56 years. He is not fighting for survival. He is not playing catch-up. He is executing a plan that is decades ahead of schedule. His rocket program has advanced beyond simple orbital launches. He has mining operations beginning on the moon. Automated. Robot workers extracting resources that do not exist on Earth anymore. The foundation for his next phase. The NCR and Caesar's Legion are still locked in their eternal struggle for dominance over the wasteland. They fight over Hoover Dam in our timeline. In this timeline, they fight over other territories, other resources. Because Vegas is beyond their reach, House is not interested in empires. He does not want to conquer California or Arizona. He does not care about controlling the wasteland. He wants one thing: to ensure humanity's survival by giving them a path to the stars. And in this timeline, he is well on his way to achieving that goal. The courier never gets shot in Good Springs. The platinum chip is not lost. Benny never betrays House, because Benny was raised in a Vegas that functions, that prospers, that offers opportunity to those who are loyal. The year is 2281. In our timeline, this is when the courier wakes up in Doc Mitchell's house with a bullet wound in the head. This is when the Second Battle of Hoover Dam looms on the horizon. This is when the fate of the Mojave hangs in the balance. In the alternate timeline, 2281 is just another year in House's grand design. I spent months in the Lucky 38's data archives piecing this together. The maintenance logs, the economic reports, the satellite surveillance data. I needed to understand what Vegas became when House had time to build it properly. What I found was both magnificent and terrifying. By 2281, Vegas is not a city. It is a phenomenon. The Strip has expanded beyond its original boundaries. The wall that once separated the wealthy from the desperate is gone. Not because House developed compassion, but because he no longer needs it. The entire Vegas area is now integrated into his economic system. Freeside is not a slum anymore. It is a residential district. Not luxurious, but functional. Clean water, reliable power, working infrastructure. Westside has been absorbed into the greater Vegas manufacturing sector. The NCR sharecropper farms still exist, but they are no longer struggling. House pays fair prices for their crops because he can afford to, because he needs a well-fed population to maintain his operations. The farmers are not citizens of the NCR anymore. They work for House. They pay taxes to House, and in return they receive something the NCR could never give them: security. The Mojave outpost on the Long 15 is still there. The NCR maintains it as a border station, but the rangers there know the truth. They are not guarding the road to Vegas. They are guarding the NCR from Vegas. They watch the Securitrons patrol on the other side of the invisible line that marks House's territory. They see the supply caravans moving without fear of raiders or death claws. They see the infrastructure that their own republic cannot match, and they resent it. Inside the NCR, Vegas has become a symbol of what they could not achieve. President Kimball, in our timeline, pushes for expansion into the Mojave because he needs a victory. He needs to show the NCR citizens that their sacrifices mean something. But in this timeline, Vegas is unreachable. The NCR tried to push into the Mojave in the 2250s and were turned back. They tried again in the 2260s with the same result. By 2281, the policy is containment. The NCR does not try to take Vegas. They just try to keep House from expanding further. It is a Cold War, a standoff. The NCR has the population and the territory. House has the technology and the vision. Neither side can decisively win, so they maintain an uneasy peace. Trade happens. NCR citizens can visit Vegas if they pay the entrance fee. House does not interfere with NCR territory as long as they do not interfere with his. But beneath the surface, tensions simmer. The NCR's government is corrupt and inefficient. They squander resources on political infighting while their citizens suffer. House's propaganda broadcasts reach deep into NCR territory. His message is simple and seductive. Look at Vegas. Look at what can be achieved under proper leadership. Look at what you could have if your government was not incompetent. Deserters from the NCR military cross into Vegas regularly. They do not find freedom there. House is not interested in freedom, but they find order. They find jobs. They find a system that works. Many of them end up as technical workers in House's factories. Some of them become security personnel, augmenting the Securitron forces with human decision-making skills that robots lack. The NCR leadership watches this brain drain with growing alarm. They cannot stop it. They cannot compete with what House offers. All they can do is tighten their grip on their own territory and hope that House remains content with the Mojave. Caesar's Legion, meanwhile, has stagnated. In our timeline, the Legion reached the Colorado and pushed into the Mojave, forcing a confrontation that defined the entire region. In this timeline, Caesar hit a wall he could not overcome. Vegas represented the first real failure of his conquest. He could not intimidate House. He could not outfight House's robots. He could not even raid House's territory without suffering catastrophic losses. This failure changed the Legion. Caesar is still brilliant. He is still feared. His army is still disciplined and fanatical. But there is doubt now. Doubt among the lower ranks who whisper about the battle at the Colorado, where 500 legionaries died in minutes. doubt among Caesar's officers who question whether the eastward expansion can continue indefinitely. Caesar himself is different in this timeline. He has a brain tumor in both timelines. That is just biology. But in our timeline, he has the courier to help him, or to kill him. In this timeline, he has neither. The tumor worsens. His headaches become unbearable. His judgment slips. And Lanius, the monster of the East, watches and waits. By 2281, Caesar is dying. Not dead yet, but dying. The Legion knows it. They are preparing for the succession. The question is not if Lanius will take power, but when, and what he will do with that power. Lanius is not Caesar. He does not have Caesar's intelligence or his grand vision. He is a warrior, a brutal, efficient killing machine who believes in the Legion's strength above all else. When Lanius takes control, the Legion will not seek to expand. It will seek to prove itself. And there is only one target that represents the ultimate challenge. Vegas. House knows this. His satellites track the Legion's movements. His intelligence network reports on Caesar's declining health. He knows that when Caesar dies, Lanius will come, and he is preparing for that inevitability. The Securitron production facilities are running at maximum capacity. House has over 5,000 upgraded Mark II Securitrons by 2281. In our timeline, he had maybe 200 before the Platinum chip upgrade. In this timeline, he has had decades to build his army. The robots are everywhere, patrolling, building, maintaining, an ever-present reminder of House's power. But House is not just preparing for war. He is preparing for exodus. The space program is his true priority. Everything else is secondary. The casinos fund it. The factories build it. The entire Vegas economy exists to support this one goal: getting humanity off Earth before the planet kills them all. By 2281, House has permanent facilities in orbit. Not just satellites, but actual stations. Automated manufacturing platforms that build more robots and more spacecraft using resources mined from the moon. The technology is not as advanced as pre-war space stations. It does not need to be. It just needs to work. The first manned mission to orbit happens in 2279. A test crew of 3 volunteers. They spend 2 weeks in space and return safely. House broadcasts the landing across the Mojave. A demonstration. A message. Look what I have achieved. Look what is possible. The NCR sees this and panics. They have nothing comparable. Their technology is stagnant. They have been so focused on expansion and consolidation that they forgot to innovate. They forgot that survival in the wasteland requires more than just numbers. It requires progress. The NCR's scientists, the few they have, petition the government. They need funding for a space program. They need to match House's achievements. But the NCR is broke. The cost of maintaining their military presence across 5 states has drained their treasury. They cannot afford a space program. They cannot afford to compete. And so the NCR watches as House pulls further ahead. As the gap between Vegas and the rest of the wasteland widens into a chasm that cannot be crossed. But here is what I realized as I dug deeper into the data. Here is what keeps me awake at night. House's success comes at a cost that nobody talks about because nobody wants to acknowledge it. House is not human anymore. He has not been human for over 200 years. He is a brain in a jar, connected to a computer network, sustained by machines. He does not eat. He does not sleep. He does not feel the way people feel. He experiences the world through sensors and data streams. He makes decisions based on calculations and projections, not on empathy or morality. In our timeline, this is somewhat balanced by his limitations. He has to work with people. He has to compromise. He has to consider human factors because he needs human allies. The courier challenges him, questions him, forces him to justify his decisions. In this alternate timeline, House has no such checks. He has been the undisputed ruler of Vegas for 63 years. He has faced no serious opposition. No one questions him. No one challenges his authority. He is not accountable to anyone, and absolute power does not corrupt in the way people think. It does not make you evil. It makes you certain. It makes you believe that your way is the only way. It makes you stop seeing people as individuals and start seeing them as components in a larger system. I found evidence of this in the employment records. Workers in House's factories are assigned identification numbers. They are tracked. Their productivity is monitored. If they fall below certain thresholds, they are reassigned. Or terminated, not killed, just fired, sent back to the wasteland to fend for themselves. House does not waste resources on the unproductive. The education system in Vegas is not about creating independent thinkers. It is about creating useful workers. Children are tested early. Their aptitudes are identified. They are then funneled into training programs designed to fill specific roles in House's economy. Become an engineer or a technician or a laborer. There are no artists in House's Vegas, no philosophers, no dreamers who do not dream of space. It is efficient, it works, but it is not freedom, and the people accept it. They accept it because the alternative is the wasteland. They accept it because House provides what no other faction can: safety, stability, a future that extends beyond tomorrow. But I wonder, what do you think happens when you optimize a society for efficiency? When you remove every variable that does not contribute to the goal? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I would like to know if I am the only one who sees the problem here. The satellite network House built does more than just watch for threats. It monitors Vegas itself, every street corner, every building. The Securitrons are not just guards. They are surveillance. They record conversations. They track movements. They report anomalies to the Lucky 38's central computer. House claims this is for security, to prevent crime, to maintain order, and it does prevent crime. Vegas in 2281 has virtually no violent crime. No theft, no murder, because everyone knows they are being watched. Everyone knows that the Securitrons will respond within seconds. It is a panopticon, a prison where the bars are invisible and the guards are machines that never sleep. But the people do not rebel. Why would they? They are fed. They are housed. They are safe. They have jobs. They have purpose. The system works for them in ways that the NCR and Legion never could. This is the dark miracle of House's early awakening. He created a functioning civilization in a world of chaos. He achieved what everyone else only dreamed of. But in doing so, he created something that is no longer quite human. A society of components, a machine made of flesh, and the space program. His grand vision, his promise of salvation. Even that has a darker edge when you look closely. House's plan is to establish colonies on other worlds, to give humanity a fresh start on planets that were not poisoned by nuclear war. It sounds noble, heroic even. But when you examine the specifications, when you read the criteria for colonists, you realize something unsettling. House is not planning to save everyone. He cannot. The spacecraft he is building, even with decades of development, have limited capacity. He can maybe transport a few thousand people per launch, maybe tens of thousands over many years, but not millions, not the entire population of the wasteland. So who decides who goes? Who decides who gets to escape Earth and who stays behind to die? House decides. Of course House decides, and his criteria are predictable. The most intelligent, the most productive, the most useful. The people who can contribute to building a new civilization on another world. Engineers, scientists, technicians. The young and healthy who can work and reproduce. Everyone else stays. The old, the sick, the uneducated, the useless. They remain on Earth while the chosen few ascend to the stars. House does not say this explicitly. He does not announce it, but it is there in the data, in the colonist selection algorithms, in the capacity limitations of the spacecraft. House is building an ark, but it is an ark with very limited seating, and most of humanity will drown. I think about this a lot, about what it means, about whether it is right or wrong or just necessary. House would say it is necessary, that saving some is better than saving none, that hard choices must be made, that emotion and sentiment cannot guide decisions of this magnitude. And maybe he is right. Maybe this is what survival looks like in a post-apocalyptic world. Maybe you need someone like House, someone who can make the calculations without flinching, someone who can sacrifice millions to save thousands, someone who can look at humanity as a resource to be managed rather than as individuals with inherent worth. But it still bothers me. It should bother you too. By 2285, 4 years after our timeline's battle for Hoover Dam, House is ready for the next phase. The orbital facilities are complete. The lunar mining operations are fully automated and producing a steady stream of resources. The colony ship designs are finalized. He announces a timeline. The first colony mission will launch in 2295, 10 years. That is how long humanity has left on Earth before House takes his chosen few and leaves. The announcement causes panic in the NCR. Their citizens begin demanding that the government do something, anything. They want to be on those ships. They want their children to have a future among the stars. But the NCR cannot deliver. They do not have the technology. They do not have the resources. All they have is the slowly dawning realization that they bet on the wrong future. Caesar, or by now probably Lanius, sees the announcement differently. To the Legion, House's plan is the ultimate expression of cowardice, running away instead of fighting, abandoning Earth instead of conquering it. It is everything the Legion despises. Lanius makes a decision. He will attack Vegas, not to conquer it, not to rule it, but to destroy it, to pull down House's tower and burn his dreams of the stars. The Legion begins massing at the Colorado, not the force they sent before, not a raiding party or a vanguard, the entire Legion. Every legion, every cohort, every auxiliary, tens of thousands of warriors preparing for the assault. House watches them gather. His satellites track every movement. He knows what is coming. He knows this will be the final confrontation. The Legion will attack with everything they have. It will be total war, and House is ready. He has always been ready. This is what the Securitrons were built for. This is why he spent decades preparing. The Legion represents the past, savage, brutal, bound, to the earth. House represents the future, technological, calculated, reaching, for the stars. Only one vision can survive. The assault begins at dawn on October 23, 2286, 209 years after the bombs fell. The Legion crosses the Colorado in force. They come in waves. The first wave is fodder, recruits and slaves sent to exhaust the Securitrons' ammunition. They die by the thousands, but they keep coming. The Legion has always had one advantage: numbers, bodies they can afford to throw away. But House planned for this. The Securitrons do not run out of ammunition. They are powered by nuclear batteries that will last for centuries. They do not tire. They do not break formation. They simply keep firing, keep killing. The Colorado runs red. The second wave consists of Legion veterans, experienced warriors in salvaged armor, carrying the best weapons the Legion could scavenge or steal. They break through the first Securitron line through sheer determination and tactical skill. They reach the outer settlements of Vegas. They start burning buildings, killing civilians, doing what the Legion does best, and House responds by activating his contingency protocols. Securitrons emerge from hidden bunkers all over the region, thousands of them. An army that dwarfs anything the Legion expected. They encircle the Legion forces, cut off their retreat. The slaughter intensifies. Lanius himself leads the third wave. The elite, the Praetorian Guard, the soldiers who have never known defeat. They push deeper into Vegas than any Legion force before them. They reach the Strip itself. They see the Lucky 38 rising in the distance. So close. Victory within reach. That is when House unleashes his orbital weapons platform. Nobody knew it existed. Not the NCR, not the Legion, not even most of House's own people. It was always meant to be a secret, a last resort, a weapon so devastating that its mere existence would prevent war. But now war is here, and House has no choice but to use it. The platform is not a complex weapon. It is simply mass, Tungstenrods, dense metal cylinders weighing several tons each. The platform drops them from orbit. Gravity does the rest. They fall at orbital velocities. They hit with the force of tactical nuclear weapons, but without the radiation. Kinetic bombardment. God rods. Whatever you want to call them. They fall on the Legion's positions, one after another. The ground shakes. Buildings collapse. The Earth itself seems to reject the violence of the impact. The Legion forces are annihilated, not routed, not defeated, erased. Lanius and his elite guard are reduced to a crater and a memory. The battle lasts 6 hours. When it is over, Caesar's Legion effectively ceases to exist. Their army is gone. Their leadership is dead. The survivors scatter back across the Colorado, leaderless and broken. House has won. Decisively. Permanently. There will be no third wave. No rebuilding. The Legion is finished, but victory has a cost. The kinetic strikes destroyed parts of outer Vegas. Civilian casualties number in the hundreds. Buildings that took decades to construct are reduced to rubble. The Securitrons suffered losses too. Not many, maybe 50 or 60 units. A tiny fraction of House's forces, but still a cost. More importantly, the world now knows what House is capable of. The NCR saw the orbital strikes. Their scouts witnessed the battle. They reported back that House has weapons in space that can destroy armies in seconds. Weapons that the NCR cannot defend against. The Cold War is over. Vegas has won. The NCR begins pulling back from the Mojave entirely. They cannot contest House's dominance. They cannot risk provoking him. They retreat to California and hope that House remains content with the Mojave. And House does remain content. For now, he has no interest in conquest. He has his territory. He has his resources. He has his space program. That is all he ever wanted. The first colony ship launches in 2295 as scheduled. It carries 500 colonists and enough supplies to establish a permanent settlement on Mars. House chooses Mars because it is close, because it has water ice at the poles, because it is the most practical first step toward his goal of spreading humanity across the solar system. The colonists are selected from Vegas's population, the brightest engineers, the most skilled technicians, the healthiest families. They leave Earth behind and head for a new world, a world without radiation, without mutations, without the mistakes of the past. Back on Earth, the rest of humanity watches them go. If this story has kept you listening this far, and you want more of these dark confessions from the wasteland, hit that subscribe button. It tells me someone out there is still paying attention to warnings like these. The year is 2300, 15 years after the Legion's final assault, 22 years after our timeline's version of House woke up. Vegas is thriving, the population has grown, the economy is strong, more colony ships have launched, maybe a dozen by now. House's vision is becoming reality, but I need to tell you what I found, what made me start digging through these records in the first place. What made me realize that House waking up early was not the salvation it appears to be. There is a file, deep in the Lucky 38 systems, protected by encryption that took me months to break. A file that House never intended anyone to see. It is labeled Contingency Omega. I am going to tell you what is in that file. But first, I need you to understand something. I need you to understand that House is not evil. He is not a villain in the traditional sense. He genuinely believes he is saving humanity. His intentions are not malicious, but sometimes good intentions are not enough. Contingency Omega. 2 words that changed everything I thought I knew about Robert House. The file is extensive. Hundreds of pages of calculations, projections, resource allocations. It took me weeks to read through it all, to understand what I was looking at. And when I finally did, I sat in that abandoned Robco facility for hours, staring at the screen, trying to decide what to do with this information. Let me start with the basics. House's public statements about colonizing other worlds are true. He really is sending colony ships to Mars. He really does believe that humanity's future lies in the stars. But that is not the whole truth. It is not even half of it. The complete plan, the one documented in Contingency Omega, is this. House intends to evacuate everyone who matters from Earth by 2320. That is 20 years from the date of the file's last update. 20 years to get the useful population off the planet, and then Earth gets abandoned, completely, permanently, forever. The reasoning is cold and mathematical. Earth is dying, not in some distant future, now, right now. The radiation levels are not decreasing fast enough. The ecosystem is collapsing. The water table is contaminated. The soil is poisoned. Pre-war pollution combined with nuclear devastation has created a planet that cannot sustain human life. Long-term. House calculates that Earth has maybe another century before it becomes completely uninhabitable. Maybe less. The people who remain will face increasing mutation rates, crop failures, resource scarcity, slow death, painful death, inevitable death. His solution is simple. Save who you can. Leave the rest. But here is the part that made my blood run cold. The selection criteria. The algorithms that determine who gets to leave and who stays. I already mentioned that House prioritizes intelligence and productivity. That part is public knowledge. What is not public is how those criteria get applied. House has been engineering his population. Not through genetics, nothing so crude, but through social engineering, through education, through job placement, through surveillance and monitoring. He identifies the traits he wants in his colonists. Intelligence, adaptability, obedience, lack of emotional attachment to Earth. And he cultivates those traits, rewards them, promotes people who exhibit them. Everyone else gets filtered out, not eliminated, just guided toward positions where they are useful but not essential, where they can contribute to the Vegas economy, but never become candidates for evacuation. They work in the factories, they maintain the infrastructure, they serve in the casinos, and when the colony ships stop launching, they stay behind. They were always meant to stay behind. The file contains projections, population models, House estimates he can evacuate approximately 50,000 people before his deadline. 50,000 out of millions across the wasteland. Out of hundreds of thousands, even just in the Vegas area. The math is brutal. For every person who leaves Earth, dozens stay behind to die. And House knows this. He planned for this. Contingency Omega is not a backup plan. It is the plan. It always was. There is more. The orbital weapons platform that destroyed the Legion. That was not just a defensive measure. It is part of the contingency. When House finishes evacuating his chosen population, when the colony ships stop launching, Earth will still have people on it. Millions of people, desperate people who realize they have been abandoned. People who might try to take the remaining spacecraft by force. People who might threaten the colonies. Contingency Omega addresses this threat. The orbital platform remains in position, automated, programmed to respond to any unauthorized launches from Earth, any attempt to build new spacecraft, any threat to the Mars colonies. The platform will remain active for centuries, ensuring that the people left behind stay behind. Earth becomes a prison, the survivors become inmates, and House becomes the warden who threw away the key. I want to be clear about something. House did not create this situation. He did not cause the apocalypse. He did not poison the planet. He is simply responding to circumstances beyond his control, and his response from a purely logical standpoint makes sense. Save who you can. Preserve the species. Ensure humanity's survival by any means necessary. But logic and morality are not the same thing. And I cannot stop thinking about what this means. About the hundreds of thousands of people in Vegas who work and live and hope, not knowing that most of them are already dead. They just do not know it yet. I think about the factory workers who build the colony ships, building their own obsolescence, constructing the vehicles that will carry others to safety while they remain behind. Do they know? Do they suspect? Or do they believe the lie that everyone will eventually get their chance? I think about the children in House's schools, being tested, being evaluated, being sorted into categories they do not understand. The smart ones who show aptitude will become engineers. The loyal ones who follow orders will become administrators. And the rest will become the labor force. The expendable ones, the ones who were never going to leave. If you have ever wondered what choice you would make in a situation like this, tell me in the comments. I will be reading them. House would say, this is the only rational choice. That saving 50,000 is better than saving 0. That the alternative is letting everyone die. And maybe he is right. Maybe this is what survival looks like. Maybe you need someone willing to make these calculations. Someone who can condemn millions to save thousands without hesitation. But I cannot help thinking about the people who built Vegas. The workers who maintained the Securitrons. The engineers who designed the spacecraft. The technicians who operated the factories. They made House's vision possible. They gave him the means to reach the stars. And their reward is to watch the ships leave without them. There is a section in Contingency Omega about maintaining morale, about managing the population's expectations. House knows that if people realize what is happening, if they understand that most of them will never leave Earth, the entire system collapses, productivity drops, unrest increases, the plan fails. So House lies. Not directly. He never says everyone will be evacuated, but he implies it. He allows people to believe it. He encourages the fantasy that if you work hard enough, if you prove yourself valuable enough, you will earn your place on a colony ship. He turns survival into a competition, a meritocracy where the prize is escape and the punishment is death, and it works. The people of Vegas work harder than anyone in the wasteland. They compete for positions in the space program. They sacrifice for the greater good. They believe in House's vision. They do not realize that for most of them, that vision excludes them. By 2310, the evacuation is well underway. A colony ship launches every few months. Each one carries 500 to 700 people. The lucky ones, the chosen ones, they wave goodbye to Earth and head for Mars, for a new life, for a future. The people who remain throw parades for them, celebrate their departure, wish them well. They do not know they are celebrating their own abandonment. The Mars colonies are thriving. The first generation of children born off-world are growing up under different skies. They breathe recycled air. They live in pressurized habitats. They work in underground farms. It is not paradise. It is not easy, but it is survival. It is a future, and that is more than Earth can offer. House himself never leaves Earth. This is important. He could go. He could upload his consciousness to the Mars mainframe, continue his rule from another planet, but he does not. He stays in the Lucky 38, monitoring, managing, ensuring the plan proceeds as calculated. Some might see this as noble, as a captain going down with his ship, but I think the truth is simpler. House is not human enough anymore to care where his body is. He experiences reality through computer networks, through data streams. It does not matter if those networks are on Earth or Mars. He is everywhere his systems reach. He is nowhere physically present. He is the ghost in the machine, the mind without a body, the calculator that thinks it is a man. By 2315, the truth starts to leak out. Someone in the space program, Someone with access to the launch schedules realizes that the rate of evacuation is decreasing. Fewer ships launching, longer gaps between missions. They do the math. They calculate how many people can possibly be evacuated before the ships stop launching entirely. The numbers do not add up. There are not enough ships for everyone. There never were. The information spreads, slowly at first. Whispers in the factories, rumors in the residential districts. Then faster. Panic. Riots start in Outer Vegas. People storm the spaceport, demanding to be put on the next ship. Demanding answers. Demanding justice, the Securitrons respond. They do what they were programmed to do. Maintain order. Suppress dissent. Protect House's infrastructure. The riots are put down with mechanical efficiency. Hundreds die. Thousands are injured. The survivors learn quickly. You do not fight the Securitrons. You do not question House's plan. You accept your fate or you die trying to change it. House addresses the population. Not in person. He never appears in person, but through his avatar. Through screens across Vegas. His message is characteristically blunt. Yes, not everyone can leave Earth. Resources are finite. Difficult choices must be made. The colony ships will continue launching until 2320 as planned. Everyone still has a chance to prove their value. Work hard, contribute, earn your place among the stars. It is the same lie as before, just stated more openly, more honestly, and somehow that makes it worse. The remaining years are tense. The population of Vegas lives under constant surveillance. The Securitrons patrol in greater numbers. Productivity actually increases because everyone is desperate. Everyone wants to be on that next ship. Everyone wants to believe they still have a chance. Some people adapt. They accept that they will die on Earth. They make peace with it. They focus on making their remaining years comfortable. They find meaning in the work itself rather than in the reward. Others do not adapt. They plot, they scheme. They try to hijack spacecraft. They try to break into the colony ship construction facilities. They try to force their way onto the evacuation lists. The Securitrons stop them every time. The prisons fill with people whose only crime was wanting to live. I found suicide statistics in the medical records. They spike dramatically after 2315. People who realize they will never leave Earth, who cannot bear the thought of dying here, who choose to end it on their own terms rather than wait for the planet to kill them. House does not acknowledge this, does not address it. The bodies are disposed of efficiently. Life in Vegas continues. The final colony ship launches in 2320 as scheduled. It carries the last 600 colonists, engineers, scientists, a few administrators. The people House deemed most essential for the Mars colony's continued success. They board the ship, the hatches seal, the engines fire, and Earth loses its last connection to the stars. The people remaining in Vegas watch the launch. Thousands of them gathered outside the spaceport. They watch the ship climb into the sky, watch it disappear beyond the atmosphere, and then they turn around and realize they are alone, trapped on a dying world, abandoned by the man who promised them salvation. House's final broadcast to Earth is brief. He thanks the population for their service. He acknowledges their sacrifice. He expresses hope that they will make the most of the time they have left. And then he severs the connection. The Mars colonies go silent. No more communications with Earth. No more promises. No more lies. Just silence. The orbital weapons platform remains active. Automated systems monitoring Earth for any signs of unauthorized space launches, any attempts to follow the colonists. The platform has enough power to operate for centuries. Long after everyone on Earth is dead, it will remain a tombstone, a warning, a reminder that some escapes are permanent. This is where the file ends, where Contingency Omega concludes. But this is not where the story ends, because I am here, because I found this information, because I am still on Earth. And so are you. I do not know what year it is when you hear this. I do not know how much time has passed since House abandoned us. But I know that we are the ones who were left behind. We are the ones who were not valuable enough, not smart enough, not useful enough. We are the ones who built the future and then were denied access to it. And I cannot decide if I should hate House for this. Part of me does. The part that is human. The part that feels betrayed. That feels like we were used and discarded. That part wants to rage against the injustice of it all. But another part of me understands. The cold, logical part. The part that can do the math. Earth really is dying. House really could not save everyone. Hard choices really did have to be made. And someone had to make them. Someone had to decide who lives and who dies. Would it have been better if no one was saved? If House let everyone die together rather than choosing who survived? I do not have an answer. I do not think there is an answer. I think this is one of those situations where every choice is wrong. where there are no good options, only terrible ones and slightly less terrible ones. But here is what I do know. House waking up 20 years early gave him time. Time to build, time to plan, time to execute his vision. And his vision was magnificent in its scope and horrifying in its implications. He saved 50,000 people. He gave them a future among the stars. He preserved humanity's knowledge and technology. He ensured the species would continue. And he condemned millions to slow death on a poisoned planet. Both of these things are true. Both of these things matter. And we have to live with both of them. The Mojave is quieter now. Fewer Securitrons patrol the streets. Many of them shut down when House severed the connection to Mars. Others continue operating on automated routines, maintaining infrastructure that no longer matters. Vegas still has power from Hoover Dam. The casinos still light up at night. But there is no one to gamble. No tourists. No customers. Just survivors waiting to see how long the planet will let them live. I have thought about trying to reactivate the space program. The facilities are still here. The knowledge is still accessible in the computer systems. Maybe we could build our own ships. Maybe we could follow House to Mars. But then I remember the orbital weapons platform. Still up there, still watching, still programmed to destroy any unauthorized launches. House thought of everything. He always did. So we are stuck here, on Earth, making the most of the time we have left. And maybe that is enough. Maybe survival is not about reaching the stars. Maybe it is about living with dignity in whatever time you have. Maybe it is about making peace with the choices that were made for you. Or maybe that is just what we tell ourselves to make the dying easier. I keep coming back to one question. If House had woken up in 2138 like he did in our timeline, would things have been different? If he had less time? If he had to struggle and compromise and deal with opposition? If the courier had challenged him? Would he still have built Contingency Omega? Or would the desperate scramble for survival have forced him to find a different way? I will never know. Nobody will. But I think about it. I think about how 20 years made all the difference. How time was the resource that changed everything. How House's greatest asset became humanity's greatest curse. The sun is setting over Vegas as I record this. The neon still glows. The robots still patrol. The city still functions. But it is empty now. A monument to ambition. A testament to what we built and what we lost. And I cannot help but wonder if this is what we deserved. If this is the natural endpoint of House's vision. Efficiency without humanity. Progress without compassion. Survival without soul. I hope the colonies succeed. I really do. I hope the 50,000 who left Earth build something better. Something that learns from our mistakes. Something that remembers the millions left behind and honors their sacrifice. I hope they create a civilization that values all people, not just the useful ones. That sees worth in existence itself, not just in productivity. But I suspect they will not. Because House is still in charge, and House does not change. He calculates. He optimizes, he plans, and the people who survive under his rule will learn to think like him, to see the world through his lens, to value what he values. They will become what he made them, and Earth will become what he left it, a graveyard, a warning, a reminder of the price of salvation. This is my confession, my testimony, my warning to anyone who finds it. Robert House had a vision. He had the intelligence to achieve it. He had the time to execute it, and he succeeded beyond anyone's expectations. And in succeeding, he showed us what we really are. Not individuals, not people with inherent worth, just data points in his calculations, resources to be managed, variables to be optimized. And when we ceased being useful, we ceased mattering. 20 years made all the difference. 20 years gave House time to save humanity by leaving most of it behind. And now we live with the consequences, on a dying planet, under dead skies, watching the neon fade and the machines wind down and the final days approach. If you are listening to this from Mars, know that we did not go quietly. We lived, we struggled, we tried to matter. And even though we failed, even though we were not valuable enough to save, we were still human. We still felt, we still hoped, we still dreamed. And that has to count for something, even if it only counts to us. The recording ends. The data saves, and I walk out of the facility into the Mojave night. The stars are bright tonight, clear and cold and infinitely distant. Somewhere up there, 50,000 people are building a new world, living House's dream, fulfilling his vision. Down here we have only the present, and whatever time remains, and the knowledge that we built the ladder to the stars, and then were told we could not climb it. This was the story of what could have been. What would have happened if Mr. House woke up 20 years earlier? If he had time to execute his plan without compromise, without opposition, without mercy, he would have saved us. And in saving us, he would have destroyed us. Both things are true. Both things happened. And we will never know if there was another way, a better way, a way that did not require abandoning millions to die. Maybe in another timeline, the courier stops him, challenges him, forces him to find a different path. But in this timeline, House had all the time he needed, and time revealed what he truly was. Not a savior, not a tyrant, just a calculator that looked at humanity and saw numbers. Some numbers added up, some did not, and those that did not were left behind. This is the end of my story, the end of House's alternate history, the end of what might have been if one system had rebooted 20 years earlier. I hope it was worth knowing. I hope someone, somewhere, learns from it. I hope the colonies remember Earth, remember the people who made their escape possible, remember the price that was paid. But I am not optimistic. House does not teach remembrance. He teaches efficiency, and the most efficient thing is to forget, to move forward without looking back, to leave the past behind and focus only on the future. So this recording may be the only thing that remains, the only evidence that we existed, that we mattered, that we were human, even when we were not useful, and maybe that is enough. Maybe being remembered, even just in a recording that no one will hear, is better than being forgotten entirely. The wasteland does not care about our stories. It does not care about our dreams. It just keeps going, keeps dying, keeps counting down to the moment when the last person takes their final breath and Earth becomes truly empty. But until then, we are here. We exist. We matter, even if only to ourselves, and that is the real tragedy of House waking up early. Not that he failed, but that he succeeded. He achieved everything he set out to do. He saved humanity. He reached the stars. He fulfilled his vision. And in doing so, he proved that survival is not the same as salvation, that living is not the same as mattering, that you can save the species while losing its soul. 20 years. That is all it took. 20 years to change everything, to turn hope into calculation, to transform Vegas from a desperate gamble into a cold machine, to show us what happens when genius gets everything it needs to succeed. We got exactly what we asked for. A man with vision, a man with ability, a man who could save us. We just never asked what being saved would cost.